Hello and welcome to Calculus. This is AP Calculus being run through the Arts and Technology Center in Louis Riel School Division. I'm Miss Conrad and I'm going to be your teacher for the next 5 months. So you get to listen to my lovely voice as you listen to instructional videos, as I'll be the one making them and coaching you through this pretty rigorous, sometimes complicated, but ultimately amazing math course. And I get to cheer you along when you finally get those aha moments that are so great in math and why we love math. So welcome, and I'm just going to walk you through a couple of pieces of information today, and tomorrow the main goal is I'm going to be distributing a little review of grade 12 pre-cal that you then will be able to kind of hone your skills, practice up a little bit, as we might be a little bit rusty if you've already taken grade 12 pre-cal last year. If you're currently taking grade 12 pre-cal, just bear in mind that there might be some concepts that might get a little sticky for you. If that's the case, please don't hesitate to ask questions because again, as we get into calculus, we're getting into some pretty abstract math, a lot of algebra. We try and make it as tangible as possible for you in this AP Calculus course, doing a lot with graphing, so you can actually see what we're talking about, but the concepts are still a little bit different than anything you've worked with before. So please ask questions. You can contact me via my email, and that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. You can use Skype for Business if you've got access to that at your schools. We can even have little messenger conversations that's sometimes faster than email if you're on a school computer. So let me just switch my screen and we'll take a look at that course syllabus together. So what you're seeing here is in our course OneNote. So I'm under the Welcome tab here, and again, you should have a link to this in your school email account. So the first page is just an outline of what is expected of me from the AP Calculus College Board, who kind of mediates the whole process of AP Calculus. Curricular requirements. So this is an outline of everything we're going to learn. So it looks like a lot when we list it like this, but not to worry. These are some very finite goals. So limits evaluated from tables. So that's a very specific goal. That would be one lesson unto itself. So it's broken down pretty far. Even these 3 pieces we'll look at kind of all together: removable discontinuity, jump discontinuity, and infinite discontinuity. Those all might sound like kind of foreign words to you at the moment, but don't worry, we'll figure it out together and kind of understand what all this new math vocabulary and this new language of math really is. Differential calculus is our second unit, and our final unit is integral calculus. So only 3 units. They'll be spread out accordingly, and especially this derivatives unit will have a big focus on the applications of derivatives, and so you'll have some good practice questions in there for the AP exam, which, good news, is actually going to be paid for by the division this year, so that's kind of exciting. That hasn't happened before, so if you're planning on taking the AP exam, it happens at the beginning of May. So if you have school trips happening around then, we can chat a little bit more about that as we get into the new year. We won't worry about that just yet, because we need to start our course and figure out how much you love calculus. So that's everything we're going to learn. These are kind of some approaches that we're going to be using within the course. But getting down to here, textbook. At the moment, we don't have a textbook. I'll be scanning pages out of a textbook that I'm going to personally be working with, but I'm also going to be pulling lots of resources from all over the internet to kind of support you and make sure that you have links to additional practice resources as well. So there's that. In addition to the textbook, though, if you'll excuse my clicking, you have been invited to access this calculus folder. So when you click on that link, it should take you in here, and you'll notice that it's kind of broken down into 4 units here. So again, those 2 derivative units are going to be chunked together. This is currently set up for how I previously taught the course, and I'm going to be doing some changes as we work through it this year. So our first unit is limits. You'll notice that all these DE folder files, when you click on them, they actually are PDFs with written instructions. So you can treat this as kind of like your textbook. There will be a couple pieces that are missed out that aren't covered in these folders that we are going to be learning because the calculus curriculum has changed since that document was created. But they will be a good resource for you. Additional kind of pieces of information are included here. So right now that folder is populated mostly by just different sort of textbook-like resources, but I will be putting worksheets in there as we continue. This is an old unit test that I've had in here, so you are more than welcome to access that and use it as a practice test as well. So that's kind of how those folders work. Calculators. Excuse me for a second while I pop this back up. Hi. This is a graphing calculator. More specifically, that's what they look like. If you are needing one and want to borrow one, you can make arrangements with me to do so. We need a post-dated check just in case it gets lost, but we give that back to you at the end of the course so that you can shred it as long as we get our calculators back. So that's out of WPC. If you're attending or if you're in this class but not attending WPC, we can make arrangements for you and I to meet, and I can get you your calculator that way. So that's how those work. I'm not going to get into all the finite details of them because there's so many things that you can do with a graphing calculator. They're such a handy tool. You are allowed to use it on your AP exam, so that's kind of cool because your provincial exam for grade 12, you weren't allowed to use your calculator for part of it. For this course, you are totally allowed to use this graphing calculator for sections. So it's a good resource. It's very handy, and we'll be using it for a couple of the activities that we do throughout the course as well. So I really, really strongly recommend that you borrow one. I'm not going to say necessarily that you need to buy one because the reality is that if you do plan on pursuing calculus at a university level, you typically aren't allowed to use a calculator at all. So I would prefer if we just lend them out to you and save you about $120. I figured you probably would want to save that kind of money too. Put it towards your grad. Going back here, my contact information is amanda.conrad@lrsd.net. So again, at any point, if you want to email me, ask me questions. I'm in the process of sending, or I just did send an email with some more information, just again, linking you to a couple different places. And my office hours, I'm going to try and stick to this. You can contact me daily between 2:45 and 3:45. And again, that's using Skype for Business, that you could use it as a messenger or even phone me through it on a school computer that you have access to, and you can reach me right at my desk and we can chat live. But yeah, email outside of that time is the best way to get a hold of me. The mark breakdown, 5% for the midterm exam. So I'm going to set the midterm at probably the end of February, just based on how our course breaks down. It would be at the end of our first 2 units, and then our last unit would be added in after, and that's going to be set at 20%. So the midterm's kind of like giving you a taster of what your final exam will look like. It's almost like a practice exam because 2 out of the 3 units will be on it, but it's only weighted at 5%. Your final exam is weighted at 20%, so that's when things get a little bit more intense. And then your term work will be worth 75%, and that includes any assignments that we do, unit tests. Those are kind of the 2 main sources of marks for this course. And then just some acknowledgements that I've included as to where I've gotten reference material for this course outline. The next thing we're going to look at is this need to know document. And again, that's available through the folder that you have access to. So again, if we look here, and go back under just calculus. Need to know PDF. It is a really, really important resource that you have. If you're not going to print anything else from this course, print this off to kind of refer to. You might want to make flashcards with it. However you kind of study and get familiar with pieces of the puzzle of math, I really do strongly recommend you start getting familiar with this now. The first page should be relatively familiar already. This looks at a lot of grade 12 pre-cal concepts. We've got some grade 9, 10, 11 concepts, and then more grade 12 in the form of trig stuff identities. Okay, on to the next page. This will become more relevant in our second unit when we start talking about differential calculus. So again, not so important in that first month or so that we're going to be learning, but definitely once we get into our second unit, differential calculus is where we're going to live, and these are going to be really, really important for you, as well as these kind of rules that you're seeing listed here. And I'm not going to focus on them now because we're not studying them now. And for our third unit, we've got some more integral formulas, and we've got a couple other key theorems that we need to be familiar with for integrals. So that's how the course breaks down in terms of information that you are absolutely responsible for, that you will not have access to on either the final exam that you write for me or the final exam for the AP, kind of challenge exam. So that's another thing I should probably address, is that there are two possible exams that you can write for this course. One is mandatory, and that's the one that I personally will administer to you. And that'll happen closer to the middle of May, after the AP exam. And why I do that is because if you're studying for the AP exam, I don't want that additional pressure of you having to write a school-based exam as well. I'd rather you focus on the AP exam itself, and then our school-based exam will happen about a week later, so it'll give you time to clarify any questions that you have. If you run into any questions on the AP exam that you're like, curious, I didn't quite understand this, you can ask me about it, and we can try and figure it out, and then you'll feel a little bit more confident when you go into our school-based exam, because it's the school-based exam that's 20% of your grade, because those AP exam marks don't actually come into the school at all. I don't get notified of them, and they don't actually finish getting marked until usually July is when you'll get your results. So that's why we need to have a school-based exam as well. So that's kind of that piece. And again, you can always find this need to know document in our course OneNote. Other things, important links right here to the YouTube channel and to that shared folder that I've been accessing. And this is where the schedule will appear once I've, again, ironed out those couple of details. This collaboration space, this is just a description of how it all works. But what's going to happen is that I'm going to create a tab in here as well, and we're going to call it peer support. And what you're going to be able to do here is we can break it down by unit. So limits will be our first unit, and you can add pages based on subtopic if you're wanting to break it down that far. But this is going to be a place where you can post your questions, and so other classmates can respond to you if they understood it, and they can help you out real quick. So this will be a really, really useful tool, so that you're not feeling kind of like an island unto yourself when it comes to studying calculus, because it's good to have a support team in any course, and especially for calculus. And then the content library. So again, this is just a description of how it will work, but based on the unit, I will label it as such and post the different kind of worksheets that you'll need to have access to. If I have any written notes that I want you to have access to, this is where I'm going to be making my videos. So if you ever want to just access the written version instead of having to watch the whole video, you just want to find a specific part and see what I did, this is where you're going to be able to look. So again, it's blank right now, but it will get populated as we continue through this course. And this is also where I'm going to be posting your pre-cal review. So So those are kind of the big pieces, and you'll notice that on my version of this OneNote, I have access to all of your names, but you will be able to access only yours. So if I go into a student folder, you'll have 3 tabs. So if you want to use this folder for like making notes, you totally can. For completing any homework, you're more than welcome to, and quizzes. This is really going to be more like assessments. And what's going to happen is that once you've completed an assessment by hand, you can scan it and insert it in here, and I'll make a video on how to do that. But then we'll be able to actually work right in the document. I'll be able to write on it, give you some pointers, and you and I both will be able to collaborate on how to better understand any questions that were unclear. So that's our intro video. I know it was a little bit long. That's a lot of information to go through without anything in your hands. But tomorrow I'll be posting another video talking a little bit about how grade 12 pre-cal relates to calculus. And in the interim, if you do want to check out that playlist, there is a video also about just what is calculus. And it's also kind of helpful just to watch and get a little flavor for what you've signed up for. So with that, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.